Hey guys, it's Katie, and welcome back to That Time When, my podcast where I spill all of my stories, secrets, etc., to give you all the advice I wish I had that time when. So, today I want to start off today's episode with a quick discussion about all the Call Her Daddy drama, just because I think it's so interesting. So, if you're not familiar with what happened, go on Instagram, Google it. It's like literally everywhere. It's too long of a story for me to tell here. But if you are familiar with what happened, I would really love to know your thoughts. So like DM me on Instagram or something and tell me what you think. But I personally, I don't really have a side in all of this. I guess if I had to pick a side, I side with Barstool in all of it, just because I feel like what Alex and Sophia did by shopping their show around behind Barstool's back was honestly really shady. And you're in a contract. I just think it's really unprofessional to be doing that. It's a breach of contract, first off. And also, if you're promising these other networks your show or acting like you want to bring your show to their network, but you don't even own your IP and you couldn't even actually bring it to them without, a major lawsuit, because obviously Barstool wasn't going to give them the IP. I just think that that's so unprofessional. And I obviously think that like Alex is doing the right thing by going back to Barstool, but I feel kind of bad for Sophia. Not for what she did, but because, she made herself look really, really bad in all of this. And I just hope she hasn't totally ruined her career. I think it's a little bit sad that she probably was a little blinded by her boyfriend, who's really powerful and has all this money and whatever, promising her all of this money and fame and whatever. Like that obviously can kind of skew someone's view of stuff. And I just think that she probably got a little bit blinded by that. And it's a little bit unfortunate because I'm not sure what her career will look like after this. She obviously has damaged her reputation a little bit for the time being, at least through all of this. So I hope her career can recover from it, just because I would never, I don't know, I don't have a stake in this game. Like, I don't care if she does well or not. But I just think that that's a little bit sad. So that's my 2 cents on it. I'm very curious to hear the episode that Alex comes out with on Wednesday. But anyways, like I said, DM me your thoughts on Instagram at That Time When Pod, because I would love to hear what everyone else thinks about it. But anyways, now that we've chatted about that for a couple minutes, let's get into today's episode. So, what I want to talk about today for some reason is weirdly controversial, and I don't quite get why, because it's something that literally only has to do with me. And so I don't know why some people get offended, I guess, or have strong opinions when I tell them this about myself. And that's because I want to talk to you guys about the fact that I never want kids. I don't ever want to be a mom. I just don't plan on ever having kids. And like I said, for some reason, that's weirdly controversial. When I tell people, I get a very wide range of reactions. But I guess first I will start off by just telling you why I personally don't want kids. I know that people who don't want children, they all have their own reasons. There's a lot of reasons why people would choose not to have kids. But here is my reasoning for why I've made this decision for myself. First off, it's just never fit into the picture for me. I've just never pictured kids in my future. When I think about what I want for myself in my life, I've just never pictured kids as being a part of that. Selfishly, I don't want to have to prioritize kids above what I want for myself. I realize that's very selfish, and I own the fact that it is. But at least I'm self-aware, I guess. And I'm not saying that people who have kids can't, be ambitious and have it all and go after everything they want in life. I'm not saying that at all. I think that's totally possible. I'm just saying that for myself, it's just never fit into the picture for me, and it's just never been something I've wanted. And second off, this is the part where people are probably going to think I'm fucking crazy. But I have a serious phobia of pregnancy and pregnant people. It makes me anxious just talking about it. I'm already I get a nervous giggle and I sweat when I talk about it, because it honestly scares me so bad. The whole thought of becoming pregnant and carrying a child and birthing a child is just so absolutely terrifying to me. I can't even talk about it. It really freaks me out to no end. I have horrible pregnancy nightmares. Honestly, they're more like night terrors. I know that all girls pretty much have pregnancy dreams, but I have horrifying nightmares about being pregnant where I'm crying hysterically, saying this was never supposed to happen. It's so bad. And I'm just so scared of it. It's honestly a real phobia. You can Google it. When I realized just how deeply terrified of pregnancy I was. I Googled it to see if other people were just as scared as I was. And like, it's a legit phobia. You can honestly Google it. But also, I'm just so freaked out by pregnant people. Like, it really makes me nervous. I know that some people think pregnant women are so cute, but honestly, I get so nervous around them because it's like you're looking at one person, but it's actually two people. Like, there's a whole nother person in there. It's like a Russian doll. Like, it's a person inside of a person. And this is, like, honestly, I understand if you think I'm fucking crazy because I said that. Like, I totally get it. I realize it's kind of a crazy thing to think about. But for some reason, that's, like, what I think about when I see a pregnant person. It's like, oh my gosh, there's a whole nother human being inside there. Like, the fact that their body is literally growing a person, I realize that's, like, the wonderful miracle of nature and all of that. But, like, honestly, it really just freaks me out, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know why I have this like really scary opinion of pregnant people, but I just do. I've always thought that way. It just really freaks me out. I don't know what it is. So anyways, that's why I don't want kids. So there you go. Take with that information what you will. But for some reason, when I tell people I don't want kids, they are very rarely, if ever, accepting of that. And I just don't really understand why. The most common thing that I hear from people is, well, you'll change your mind someday. And it's like, first off, no, I won't. Like, I'm 27. I've thought this way for 27 years. I don't think I'm going to be changing my mind. It's not like I changed my mind about whether I wanted a dog or not. Like, no, this is a human being. Like, that's a whole child. Like, it's a person. I don't think I'm going to change my mind about whether I want that or not. That's a really big thing to change your mind about. But also, the thing that kind of bothers me about when people say this is like, it almost feels like they're assuming they know me better than I know me, or they know what I want for my life better than I know what I want for my life. And people who know me well, like, I let it slide when they say this a little bit, but like, and I'm not saying I talk about this with complete strangers, but like a handful of times in my life, for some reason, this has come up with people who don't know me very well or who have just met me. And it's like, who are you to think that you all of a sudden in the short couple of minutes you've been speaking to me know me better than I know me? Like, I just think that that's kind of a rude assumption to make. And it's a little bit disrespectful to say that to someone, but people feel very comfortable saying that to you. Like, that is by far the most common reaction I get. I feel like that's like the first thing that comes out of people's mouth whenever I tell them this. And I just don't understand it. Like, you would never say to someone who wants kids, oh, you'll change your mind. Like, you're not going to want them. That would be so rude to say that to someone who wants kids. So it's like, why is it okay to say that to me just because I have the quote unquote unpopular outlook on it? Like, I don't know what makes that okay. I feel like if people actually took a step back and thought about what they were saying before they said it, maybe they would realize that would be a little rude to say, but people usually just blurt it out, and I just don't quite get it. And honestly, I hear it way more from women than I do from men. I don't know if a man has ever said it to me, to be honest. The only people who have really ever said this to me are women. And I have a little bit of an issue with that because it's like, we as women know what women go through with our bodies and people thinking that they have ownership over our bodies, especially men. So it's like, why can't you accept what I want to do with my body? Like, you should know that so many people try to have a say in what we do. So why are you adding to that? Like, why would you think it's okay to say that to me rather than just accepting that, like, this is a decision I've made for my body and myself and other people should respect it? It really just, I don't know, that really bothers me. That's like the one thing that really gets to me. But also, another thing people will say to me, not as often, but something I've heard a decent amount of times is, oh, but you'd be such a great mom. And it's like, yeah, I do think I would be a great mom. I know I would be a wonderful mom, but you shouldn't do something just because you're good at it. And just because I'd be good at it doesn't mean that I want it. Like, that would be such stupid logic to make the humongous decision of becoming a parent. Like, just because I would be good at it doesn't mean that I should make that huge life-altering decision for myself. Like, having a kid is a huge responsibility and a huge deal, and just because I'd be good at it doesn't mean that I should make that decision. You know what I mean? And then something I hear not quite as often, a little bit less often, is, well, some women can't have children. And it's like, yes, I understand that, and I think that's really sad when women who want kids, unfortunately, their body cannot carry their own children. I think that's really devastating for them. But it kind of goes back to my argument that this is my body, it's my decision. Just because someone else can't do something doesn't mean that I am obligated to do it just because I'm capable of it. I think that that's really unsound logic to make the decision to become a parent. It makes no sense to me. And it almost feels like they act like I'll regret it. And honestly, people have said that to me. They're like, well, maybe you'll regret it someday. And it's like, okay, if I do, that's on me. I'm the one who has to live with that regret. So why are you concerning yourself with it? It's not like it would be your kids and your body. Like, why are you concerning yourself with what regret I may have in the future? And like, I get that most of the time people are coming from a good place when they say all of these things, but I just don't think they realize how disrespectful it actually is to say it. And kind of offensive. Like, I don't like using the word offensive, but it's kind of offensive just because, like, I don't know, it's not your life. Like, why are you trying to insert yourself in what I want for my life? And sometimes it kind of feels like people with kids think that I'm judging them. Like, if I say this to someone who has a kid or children, multiple, it kind of feels like they think I'm judging them for deciding to have kids. And it's like, not at all. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be here if my mom hadn't decided to have me. And, I think that's obviously we need people to become moms to keep the world going around and all of that. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Like, I think being a mom is the hardest job around. Like, I look at my own mom who raised 5 of us and like, I don't know how the hell she did it. So, like I said, I'm not judging them at all for making the decision to have kids. So, I don't think they need to kind of go on the defensive when I say I don't want them. I think that the fact that it's such a hard job is kind of part of the reason why I don't want kids. Like I was saying earlier, it's just, I realized that that's such, a lifelong commitment. I think that once you make the decision to become a parent and have a child, it's like, that child needs to be your number one priority 24/7 for as long as you both are on this earth together. Like, they always have to come first. And I'm not willing to make that kind of a sacrifice, which I know is selfish, but I would never want to bring a child onto this earth if I wasn't willing to, give them everything and treat them like my number one priority at all times, because that's what they should be. It's like, it's a whole human being. Like, it has to be your number one priority. Like, I can leave my cats home for a couple of days and like leave some food and water out and they'll be fine, but like, kids, you can't do that. You'd get arrested. DCS would be banging your door down. But anyways, like, that's part of the reason why I don't want it. And I don't see why other people concern themselves with that so much. If you do have strong opinions on this, please, like, I don't want to fight with people about it. Like, I don't understand where people are coming from when they have such strong opinions on my choice about my life. So if you are someone who does feel strongly about it, like, please DM me on Instagram. I would love to talk about it because I would love to see where these people are coming from a little bit better, but I just have a really hard time seeing it from where I stand. And I'm not really the kind of person who can't usually see the other side of things. I'm usually really good at, seeing both sides of an argument, but this is one that's really hard for me. So if you stand on the other side of this, I would love to have like a friendly chat about it in my DMs. So feel free to reach out to me, but I don't know. I don't get it right now. And if anything, I feel like they're judging me for not wanting kids. And I don't really think that's necessarily fair. I feel like people act like if you don't want kids, you're less of a woman, or you're cold and you have no maternal instinct. And I just think, first off, that's not really fair to pass judgment on a large group of people who, there's a lot of us out there who don't want kids. I just don't think that's fair to pass such a generalized judgment on people who make that decision. And also, at least for me, it's not true at all. Like, I'm a very warm person. I'm great with kids. I have a strong maternal instinct when I'm with other people's kids. I just choose to direct that maternal instinct towards animals and my pets rather than human little ones. I don't know. It's not true at all that people who don't want kids don't want them because they lack a maternal instinct. And even in TV shows and movies and everything, when you see childless women portrayed, they're usually portrayed as, again, cold, non-maternal, usually unlikable. They're usually like the office bitch or like the bitch of the friend group or whatever. And also, they're almost always portrayed as single, like as if they're unlovable or unlikable or whatever. but it's very, very possible to be in a loving, childless relationship. I don't think that just because you don't want children means that you're unlovable and you're too cold to, find someone to be with. Like, that's just it's so stereotypical to me, and I just don't think it's fair. And, like, obviously it only bothers me because, like, that is me. But I just think that, like, that's not a fair portrayal of people. Clearly, I mean, I'm an example right here that's none of that's true. But I will say dating is hard when you are someone who doesn't want kids. Now, my current boyfriend, Glenn, does not want kids. Neither of us do. And I think that's obviously it's a non-negotiable for me to not have kids. Like, I will not change my stance on that because a partner wants them. But like he and I, that was something we talked about very early on in our relationship. I told him, I think like the second or third weekend we had been hanging out, that I didn't want kids. And he said, oh, me neither. And so obviously it's great. And I think that's part of the reason why our relationship works so well, is because we have a lot of the same morals and opinions and goals. So clearly it works out well in this relationship. But before I met Glenn, dating was very difficult because, like I said, not having kids, that's a non-negotiable for me. I won't change my opinion on that for someone I'm dating, because it's a humongous decision. So I wouldn't just change that just because I'm dating someone who wants them. But also, I wouldn't date someone who wants kids, because I don't think that that's fair to, get into a relationship with someone knowing you have such different opinions on such a huge life thing. Just because, like, what if you start dating someone who does want kids and you don't, and you get far down the line and feelings are really involved, but that's something neither of you are going to budge on? It's never going to work out. Like, it's going to end inevitably. So when I was dating, I always got that out of the way very early on and very upfront. But that's a weird thing to do, especially like in your mid 20s. Like, that's still pretty young. But to tell guys like early on in the talking or dating phase, like, oh, by the way, I never want kids, hope that's cool with you. They're like, what the fuck? Like, we just started talking. Why are you talking about babies? And it's like, I don't know. I weighed the pros and cons of it. And from my opinion, it was like, it's easier to just get it out of the way up front. They might think I'm crazy for bringing up kids, but I just don't. If say that it did work out, like, I didn't want to get far down that line and then drop that on them, because that's a huge thing to drop on someone, especially if they don't see things the same way as you. Like, when I told Glenn, I was so relieved that he was just like, oh yeah, like, me neither. It was so easy to tell him. But past guys that I had, talked to or dated before Glenn, it wasn't that easy. It's so weird to bring up not wanting kids like 2 weeks in. It's just uncomfortable. Like, it's a weird thing to do. Either way you spin it. And like, dating is just hard. And also, I don't know why I thought that there would be a lot of guys out there who don't want kids, but there's not. Most guys really do want to be a dad someday. And so it's really hard to find a guy who doesn't want to be that, So like, when I met Glenn, I remember, like, I was nervous to tell him like that I didn't want kids, because I was like, well, I really like this guy, and if he wants kids, like, it's not going to work out, and that's going to suck. Like, I was going to be so bummed. So thank God it worked out and we have the same opinion on it, because that would have been so sad if we hadn't. And that's obviously, I mean, it's not the reason we're still together, but like, it plays a factor in it, because like I said, huge life decision. Once again, keep repeating that. But yeah, it does make dating really, really difficult. And there were times where I was like, God, I wish I just fucking wanted kids, because it would have made dating so much easier. But, it's just, I just don't want them. And honestly, aside from dating, I'm a little bit scared for, as I continue to get older, how me not wanting kids might change my friendships. Like I said, sometimes I do wish I wanted them, just because it would make so many aspects of my life easier. And friendships is one of them. Like, I'm in like my late 20s now, which is really terrifying to say. But I'm in my late 20s. Like, my friends, I have friends who are engaged, they're getting married. Like, them having kids, it's not like it's so crazy far off now. Like, I'm one of those people, when I see someone that I know announcing that they're pregnant on like Facebook or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, she's pregnant, like, drama. But like, I keep forgetting, like, we're older now. That's normal. It's not like some crazy thing that she's having a baby. But my close friends, it's like, we're getting closer to that age where like they might start having kids soon. And it scares me a little bit, because I don't know how my friendships will change when my friends do start having children. Like once they enter that phase in their life, like are we still going to be able to relate to each other as much because they're a mom and I'm not? Or are we still going to be able to, have fun nights out like we always have? I mean, we don't do it that often, but like will those stop altogether just because they have kids at home? Like it makes me nervous for how my friendships will look different. Like will I lose my friends as the people that I've always known them as? Like are they going to be a different person because they've become a mom? Like I know that motherhood changes you. Maybe it'll change them in a better way, but like I don't know. It makes me worried, I guess. And like I do have some friends who don't want kids. Like shout out Steph, my childless friend for the rest of our lives. But like it's a little bit scary and kind of sad to think about. Like I'm one of those people who doesn't love change. So like thinking about entering that next phase of our life makes me sad for mourning like past phases of our friendships and whatever. But that's a whole nother discussion for another day. But yeah, like I said, it would honestly it would make life easier if I did want children, just because I feel like that's obviously the more popular and common thing to do is to, find a guy, get married, start a family. And if you don't want to follow that very strict life path, I feel like people think it's so weird or they have a hard time accepting it. And it's like, well, what about me? Like I'm having a hard enough time accepting it. Like what I want to do is different. Like I'm not saying that I regret my decision to never have children or that I regret the life path I'm going down, but like there is some level of acceptance that comes with doing something that's outside the norm. And like I have to come to terms with that myself, that like other people in my life are not going to be doing the same thing as me, and I might not be able to relate to them on that level anymore. So it's like when other people are passing such harsh judgment on you for not doing what's popular, it's like, dude, back off. Like let me figure it out. Like this is my life. Who cares? It doesn't affect you. That's not, like I don't get why people have such a strong opinion on something that doesn't affect them. Like I said, it's my life. Like I was saying before, if I regret it, that's on me. I have to live with that regret. So why burden yourself with it? Like, honey, I'm sure you got enough shit to worry about in your life. Don't worry yourself with what's going on in mine. But yeah, I don't know. Food for thought, I guess, to think about. So I don't want to keep rambling on about this. I feel like this episode is going to be kind of short and sweet. But I will say, if you have people in your life who are making, the unpopular decision or the uncommon decision about something in their life, especially if it is making the decision to not have kids, I'd say be supportive of that decision. People are not necessarily super supportive of me when I say it, and I kind of wish that they were. So I would say be supportive of the decisions people are making with their lives. It's not your life. If it doesn't affect you, you don't necessarily need to have a say in it. You can kind of keep your mouth shut. You don't need to voice your opinion. Just because you can voice your opinion does not mean that you should voice your opinion. Let people live their lives. Let them do them. And also, they don't owe anyone an explanation. If you want to ask them, like, sure, people can tell you, like, I'm comfortable talking about it clearly. I don't think I owe people an explanation, which is, ironic considering I'm even recording this episode. But I will talk about it. But I don't think that people owe you an explanation. So if someone is voicing that they're doing something with their life that you don't necessarily understand or agree with, I don't think you need to ask them for an explanation about it. So I would just say be supportive of what people are choosing to do with their lives. Everyone has their own struggles, things that they're unsure about in their lives, decisions that they make, etc., etc., etc. So just, do you, let them do them. And that's all I've really got to say about that. I don't want to keep talking about this a ton because I don't have anything else to add. So yeah, this is a shorter episode, but like I said a little bit earlier, if you stand on the other side of the fence and you have strong opinions about people who choose to not have children, please DM me because I really would like to hear that side of the argument. And I'd like to understand that perspective a little bit more. So yeah, DM me on Instagram at thattimewhenpod. That's going to be it for today. Please leave me a review on Apple Podcasts. It would mean so much to me. But other than that, I guess I will talk to you guys next Monday.